Okay, I'm starting to work on the railing system. Blika, B-L-I-K-A, is sent us some rails that we're going to put on here and see how well those work out. You see the rails back there. I'm going to have to cut those down a little bit. They don't come in a custom size, of course. But I ran into a problem here. So you can see I already got my chalk line run for where the railing is going to be and marked out my distances in between. Find out exactly where this post is going to sit. And it would sit right there, which means that the lag bolt would go right into that seam. So I thought, okay, what if I put in 3 posts? So 3 posts would put it right like that, right through the seam. What I'm probably going to have to do is have some mismatched distances. It's not going to be perfectly even. So I want to make sure that post goes right into the middle of the decking. And I got to make sure down below that actually bites something down below too. So I have to drill some holes, go underneath, and the pump room is right below me. Look up in the mezzanine and then make sure that that lag bolt comes through and actually hits something. If not, I got to put some boards down there. So that's all looking pretty good. I did find out too on these screws. I use these because the ones before I was using, it would squeeze into the decking and it would create this big like mushroom. And then I saw in the video somewhere some guy just goes smush, smush, smush and smacks it with a hammer and it looks great again. So I may end up trying to take one of these out and try that and see what it looks like. And if it looks great, then I'll take all these out and then go back to the actual Trex deck screws you're supposed to use. We'll go over some of the parts I got here. These are the post pieces. So after I put those lags in, this is a little cover that slides over it. These are little grommets that go into the post that the wire is going to go through. They sent me this, which is nice. I don't know how long it'll hang up in the long run. It seems pretty light, but 17 millimeter has the magnet inside to hold your lag bolts over here when you're screwing those in. And then they also sent ones for concrete anchors. I'm not going to use that here, but I will use concrete anchors somewhere else. I'm sure of it. Allen wrench. This is the bracket. I already put it on this one. But it goes up on top there, and your railing sits on here, and you screw it through the bottom to attach the railing to it. Then, of course, I got the rails. I got 3 6-footers or 6.5-footers, and then 1 8-footer to make all my spans work. And then I've got some joint pieces. These go inside the rails, and then you screw through, so it's like a coupling. There's my wire. I think that's 250 feet, or maybe it's 300 feet of wire. They sent this tool, which is pretty cool. So this is so your screw holes are nice and straight. So you can put this up against your wood, clamp it on, and then when you drill through here, it keeps nice straight lines. So when you put the screws in there that hold, these are the ends for the rails. When you put these screws in there, they go in nice and straight, then your cables look straight, so it's not, you know, whopper jog up and then your cable goes this way. That's supposed to try to make it as straight as possible, which is really interesting in my case because my wood's not straight. There's the tool that you tighten those screws with. So they have a left hand and a right hand, and it's labeled. There's my left one, and then they have a right hand one. So that way when your screw goes in this side, runs all the way through and connects to that pole, when you're tightening this one clockwise, you'll tighten that one counterclockwise. No, wait a minute. You'll tighten that one counterclockwise. So that way your wire, your cable keeps spinning in the same direction. If you were tightening this one clockwise and tightening that one clockwise, you can see it would eventually just keep twisting the wire up and it would bind it. So you have left threads and right threads, so you can screw those in at the same time and they're not going to mess anything up on you. One other thing that they sent was the crimp tool. Another set of wire cutters. So that crimp tool there is what we use to pinch together the ends of these guys. I'll go over this course later, but you slip your wire inside the ends of these. And then you crimp them down to hold the wire in place. And I'll go over that more in detail. It's kind of just a crash course on what they sent me. So it'll be nice when this is up. Hopefully I can get this next couple days if I can get those couple parts that I need. So like I said, the parts that I need is when the railing comes and attaches to the wall. This is just floating here. I got to have some way to attach it to a wall. So it's a bracket that fits inside the end of the railing and then screws to the wall. So I need 6 of those. And then on this post, I've got to drill holes all the way through. And then there's a little like grommet decorative sleeve thing that fits inside your hole, and then you feed your wire through that. I didn't get those sleeves. All right, scratch that last plan. I'm going to go with 3 posts, and those are pretty evenly spaced. It's a little bit shorter on one of these sides. That side, I think it's just a tick shorter. Reason being, I was thinking about, I'm like, only 2 posts here and that long of a span. I don't want that rail to be wobbly at all. I mean, these will be bolted down, but you just never know, especially over years, people leaning on it. I'm not worried about this side because it's bolted in there and it's bolted in there. And there's really not, that's not going anywhere. This is bolted so much, it's ridiculous. And then the way it is that one's centered. This one ended up right on the seam, which is fine. And then that one ended up being centered. So it worked out pretty good this way. So I'll go ahead and redo my tape and get ready to drill those out. So I'm finding this pretty amusing. I figured I would use this to see if I can get a nice straight hole down. And these are the drill bits they sent with it. But it doesn't fit anything. It's supposed to be tight in there. This is the only one that even remotely fits close. It's still a little loose. This one doesn't fit anything either. So I sent this to make sure you get your drill bit straight, and the drill bit is supposed to be really tight. I mean, not tight where you can't move it, but through this sleeve here, so it makes sure that it keeps your drill bit straight when you're going into your wood. But none of the bits they sent fit it. And then I put on their magnetic chuck here, and come to find out, these don't lock in there at all. So either these are not steel, they feel really light. I'm really concerned kind of about using these. I'll get another magnet and see these are actually metal. Actually, let's check and see if, yeah, so that's metal, and there, that's sticking. So these are not metal legs. These are not hardened legs. I don't know what these are, but they're going in the trash, and I will get something much better. Well, couldn't find any screws that I have, any lag bolts that I have. So I'm going to have to run to Home Depot or something tomorrow and get those bolts. So I'm kind of stuck on doing anything else here. I'm a little reluctant to drill my holes until I know exactly what size I'm going to get, because I may not need to get the exact same size of a lag bolt they had. What else could I do? I could go ahead and line up where my screws go and get those put in. One thing I wish they did, I'm probably going to make one, but you want to have all these line up perfectly. So I got to transition all those holes into screws that go along the side here, all along each one of those pieces of wood. Would be great is if they had a template that did that. So I'm going to try and somehow figure out how to transition the exact layout of these holes onto a piece of cardboard or piece of paper or something, where I can lay that up against the side and then mark where all my holes go. Alright, let's see if this works. I'll just do a small piece for now. Oh. Okay, that works very well. So I can lay a piece of tape down through here, and I can take that tape off, lay it onto a board, and mark my holes, drill through, and I take that board and put it up against the wall there. So you can see that it worked really good marking out where that hole is. Okay, so took a piece of cardboard off of the packaging that this came in. Sorry if there's some wind noise. It hasn't been windy for weeks, now all of a sudden it's windy. But anyways, I can transition onto here, make sure this is level, and I can take a nail and just knock it through there, and that'll put a dot on the wall for me. Let's see if I can make this work. And then I should be able to mount that straight down there. That flush with the bottom. Alright. All I got to count for is this 1/8 inch right there, and I should be able to transfer that right up onto the wall. And that one should still line up. There. Now they're all marked. And they are level. So I got the first screw in there and I had to put a level on the bottom of the drill to make sure I was going in level this way, and just kind of eyeballed it in this direction. Looks a little off, but I think it's actually not too bad. And then you take this tool to tighten it up, just like a wrench. Problem is, so you're supposed to leave about 1 inch of threads on there, but there's no gauge for that, so I actually took a piece of tape and marked it to where now I've got an idea, like I'm in a little bit too far there, got an idea of how far in to screw this, because then once I get the cable on there, then you tighten this one up and tighten the other end up, and that's what gets the tight cable really tight in there. But they don't give you a gauge at all, so that tape will help me out as far as that goes. So I got this first row in here, and they're not super straight. One thing I'm noticing is that actually some of these are bent just slightly. This is a hollow tube here. So all I can assume is that when these get tightened all the way in, it'll actually pull this so tight that it'll straighten some of those out. They're not awful. We'll see how it works when I get a cable in there, but I don't really have any other good method of doing this. I think it'll look okay. So again, those will run through. They're supposed to go all the way through this one, drilled all the way through. I gotta put screws on that side, screws on that side, and screws on that side. That's probably all I'm gonna get done today. Looks like I gotta go to the store and get those lag bolts. And then I think we're gonna go take a bike ride tonight. Well, as you can see, the weather's changed quite a bit. It's actually been a few weeks since I've had a chance to work on this. We've had our first freeze since then, so all the leaves fell off the trees, and we got 40-mile-an-hour gusts today, so it's going to be a hard one recording. I took a sock and wrapped it around the GoPro, see if that'll muffle some of the sound. But anyways, I test fitted this first post here, and I did some blocking underneath and found out that it all should fit pretty tight in there, pretty secure. So I'm going to take that post off. I'll use my liquid nail and the caulking gun there to go ahead and seal up underneath that post, and I'll get these other two drilled in. Okay, I got the post in. This one's a little bit of booger because it was tilted out a little bit, so I had to put a couple washers under the back two bolts to get that as straight as I can get it, and it's still leaning just a tick out this way. But it's about as tight as I'm going to be able to get it. My only concern is that the joint is going to actually fit right here, and I'm hoping that will not cause any problems. But here's the railing, and they actually sent me a new piece that the guy said they just released, and that is this bracket here. It's going to screw right into the wall to support this side. And I'll have screws coming up from the bottom. There'll be a block that goes in here, and then screws up from the bottom as well. Okay, So these little 1-inch screws are the ones that came with it. They're supposed to go through the bottom, and they absolutely suck. One of them already snapped off in here. This one was spinning. So I'm going to go get some self-tapping sheet metal screws like you see on a barn. Use those. They'll hold that a lot better, I believe. But these are just junk. They snapped right out. That's kind of why I ended up down here going and buying some better bolts, because what they sent wasn't even metal, and I was afraid they were going to snap off too. Well, I'm going to get done working on this today. It's getting kind of aggravating. The screws they gave me that go up in here into the bottom, I had to put one in there because the drill bit they gave was too big. Actually, it's too big for these screws too. That one's kind of spinning in there as well. So the screws they sent don't fit that. They don't fit the drill bit. I tried to use some, where'd they go? Tried to use some of these guys. Unfortunately, they're not self-tapping. They'll go through sheet metal just fine. This one's actually into the block that's inside there. I'm going to swap those out, run to the store and grab some that will have a little bit on the front, self-tapping ones. And I've got to get them a little bit bigger than the holes that are here because that one broke off inside. This one's already wallered out because I have a screw in there. That one is the same way. So I'm going to have to get some a little bit slightly bigger ones to drill it through there. 1 inch would be fine. 1 inch would get me right about to there. So, but sturdy wise, it's in there pretty good. Went ahead and got those drilled into the side. That went in okay. On the other side here, this is the side I didn't want to really have exposed. This post is twisted a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and put some caulking around this. So especially this is the one that I had cut, just to make sure it doesn't rust out in the future. But it's nice and sturdy. It's not going anywhere. I'll just have to get those other screws here tomorrow when I'm in town. I hope we get this project done. This has been going on for way too long. Boy, it is hot today. It was like 20 some degrees last week, and now it's 75 today. Kind of ridiculous. But I'm getting back on putting these bolts, or these screws I guess, in the underside. These are ones that I had bought because the other ones were just not cutting it. They were breaking off, not screwing in very well. So this is what I bought. These are 1 inch self-tapping metal screws. However, these will not self-tap through this top railing here, so I'm having to pre-drill my holes. But my bit just broke off in there. My drill bit. I have to pull that out and figure out how I can get that to work now. And I've got this last one to do, and I can finally start getting some of the wiring in. Man, what a chore that was. I finally got all those screws in there. Again, that is not what they sent with the kit, but their stuff kind of sucked. So, kind of a bad thing is I got some scrapes along there from the drill gun hitting it. Probably could have avoided that somehow, but it is what it is. So the next step is to go ahead and put these rubber grommets in each one of these holes here in each of the posts. And that will kind of hold the wire right in the center where it needs to be. So before I got too far in putting all these grommets in here, I was thinking, you know, if I put a grommet on this side and one in on this side, the chance of me slipping that wire through and catching the other one right where it's supposed to, right through this little tiny hole here, is probably not that possible. So I tried it, and of course it didn't work. So the alternative, that goes through nice and easy. And then these are actually split, so you can wrap it around. I'm just going to go through the tip here, and they do push right in. So I'm only going to do one side, and as the wire pulls through, I can put the grommet on the other side. Oh, get that out. Yeah, if you can see that. See how they're split? So I could actually wrap this around the wire after the fact. I'm sure that's probably that way too, because I can take these out later if they ever get rotten, need to be replaced, things along those lines. I got that first wire set up now, and it's just loosely sitting in here right now. So you're supposed to crimp this side twice. I was supposed to leave an inch between the inch of threads. What I don't know is if it's supposed to be an inch of threads on both sides. I'm not so sure about that. So So we'll do this first one and see how it goes. I've got to pull this down, and then I will cut it right about there, put it inside, crimp it twice, and then I'll start tightening these up, and we'll see if I can get, I want to get at least one of these on. The sun's setting. Probably get a little cool here in a minute, but I'll get as many of these wires on as I can. I got that first wire in, and I'm going to guess that it's 1 inch overall, because I only got this one in 1/4 inch or so, and that one in about 1/4 inch or so, and that is super tight. So I was thinking I could reuse this, but the problem is that cord is now too short, and it's also crimped into a little bracket here. But it did straighten out like I was hoping it would. So some of these aren't quite perfectly straight. When I tighten it up though, it pulls it straight as can be. So I'm probably going to leave this one to the very end, make sure I have enough material, and if I do have enough material, then I'll come back and replace it. But I'm going to tighten all these up till they're only about 1/2 inch out on both sides, and then I think that'll get me to where I want to be, so you can't see the thread sticking out at all. On this crimping tool here, this is about a 2-man job. So I had this down on there like that, and I was able to push it against the decking here, and that wasn't too bad. But when I get up to these, it's going to be a lot harder without another person there to help kind of hold it and crimp it at the same time. It was pretty tough getting through that. Okay, got that second one in. It does do a really nice job of straightening those out once they're nice and tight. But I did 1/2 inch on this side and 1/2 inch on that side, and I still can't get all the threads in over here. I'm concerned that if I go much more, it's going to actually pop that out. So, but I thought what I can do to save some wire is, because this is of course more than the length of that. So if I take those 2 bottom ones out and redo them, I can reuse this wire over on that side. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I've replaced these 2. I went ahead and pulled these out all the way down. The wire sitting there. Anyways, so here's where I started, about 1 inch, and then I moved it into 1/2 inch, and now I'm going down to only this much. So if I count the threads here, I'm about 3 threads is about all I'm at. So I'm 3 on both sides, and I think that will work pretty good. All right, got that bottom one in. 3 on each side is still too much. I've probably got 1.5 or 2 sticking out there, and about 1 on the other side, and that sucker's tight. I'm not going to replace this one. That's in there close enough. I'm going to go ahead and tighten these up down to just 2 threads on each side and see how well that does. All right, so that worked out a lot better. So now you can't see any of the threads at all. Like that, you can still see a few. So only 2 threads out on each side seems to work pretty well. So I'm losing light. I will get back and work on this again probably tomorrow afternoon. So last night after I stopped filming, I went ahead and kept working and got all the lines in. And once you get going and you get a groove going, you actually can get through it pretty fast. But one of the things I really like about this railing is it doesn't block your view very much. That's one of the things that we really kind of liked, and that we saw other people saying too, is that we're very used to not having anything covering up our view because we haven't had a railing for a couple years. So the nice thing about this is it doesn't block a whole lot. We can pretty much see right through it, and the black wire is nice. Doesn't show as much as versus the silver wire. And this is only the 1/8 inch wire. They do have a thicker wire, which is 3/16. This is the thinner wire. This is the 1/8 inch stuff, but it is super tight. Good to go. Okay, I've got all my new, I don't know what you call them, little bracket thingies installed, and I already got the 2 wires down on there and the 2 wires up there. I haven't tightened those yet. Those are the ones that I cut off the bottom row down here because they were too long. I did notice that I need to screw those in a little bit. The distance between here, of course, is a lot shorter, so I was doing 2 threads on each side down here, and that worked pretty well. I did the bottom one in 2 threads was too much, So I narrowed it down to just one thread now up each side, because this makes sense. This is a shorter distance, so the slack is a little bit less on each side. But I'll tell you, screwing everything in with that little bracket there, that little tool, that's a cool tool. But man, it's really hard on your hands after a while. And then using the crimper tool there, that's really hard on your hands. So if your hands hurt, this is probably not the best thing for you to be doing. But it looks pretty sharp. I like it. So I'll get to work on, I'm going to get the rails up first, and then I'll go ahead and tighten up the rest of the wires and be done with this project. Alright, definitely seeing light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to have to take a quick break though, because my hands are hurting and kind of getting warm out here. I gotta take my sweater off, maybe get something to eat real quick. And then I'll finish these last, what do I have, 8 more lines to put in, and then I'm done. A couple things. So you can see some of these are still bent a little bit. When you're using that crimping gauge, that one's pretty bent right there. Using that crimping tool, man, it's really hard to keep it straight. So although when I screwed them in, some of those were a little bit crooked, and that got straightened out just by the tension of the wire, but these crimps, those stayed a little bit crooked. Some are off more than I would like, but not much I'm going to do about it now. Let's see, when I cut this, of course I had to go through and put some paint over it and sand it down after I cut it. You can see where it peeled the paint just a little bit. I'm still going to put that caulking around there since that's my cut edge. Most of our rain comes from that direction, so that will be protected a little bit. This is a cut edge here, so get that one caulked up, and then that side is the other one that I cut, put against the wall, which shouldn't get much water on that at all. Try to extend the life of this as much as I can. During shipping, you can see there's a little bit of paint wear. I tried to put the bad side down, but on this one, a little bit of wear there, a little bit of wear there. The other side's actually worse on this one. But I figure after some point I can probably paint these if need be. But overall, I like it. Looks good. It's kind of a newer age style for our house. We have kind of a new house, but definitely a more of a craftsman style. This is definitely not that, but it fits the deck very well. I like the fact that you can see right through it with not very many obstructions in your line of sight. So overall, I'd say it was worth it. Took a lot longer than expected. The shipping was pretty slow. Well, shipping was really slow. That was probably one of the worst things. But beyond that, it went together okay. Just a little bit of learning here and there and figuring stuff out. You know, those bolts under there, I had to get different bolts because the ones that they sent were just absolutely junk. I had to get new bolts for down there because those, again, I didn't think they'd hold up very well. And I really don't want to step off this and fall 14, 15 feet down because the railing breaks. But it is good and sturdy. So I'd say this was a success. We'll see if we have any problems down the road, but I think it'll be pretty good. You know, these right here lined up right inside the crack, but they go in about 1.5 inches, and it definitely got some meat going in. So I suppose over time, you know, if someone's putting their legs up on this or pressure, it could, you know, pop one of those out. But I could probably find a way to fix that somehow. Maybe. But looks pretty good. Well, I got down to the last couple of crimps, and it was very clear that the little crimping thing was going out on me. So the top part unscrews and the piston comes out. I'm going to replace those seals right there. They actually send some extra seals with the kit, but this is full of hydraulic fluid, so be careful when you take that off. And you release the valve in the back and it kind of goes back down inside. But this is what comes with it, so I guess they definitely anticipated it breaking. So throughout here I would have 120 crimps, and I got to about 115 or 114 and it crapped out on me. So anyways, hopefully this will get changed fairly easily, and then I can finish this job up. I got that seal changed out. I was a little nervous because it didn't seem to want to crimp down very well, but I could hear like air bypassing around the seal, so pretty sure it worked itself out. I got a couple good crimps on there. I still didn't tighten these two quite 100%, just in case it didn't, want to pull out or something. But I'm done. Gotta clean up my mess, all my tools and junk over here from the project. Move on to something else. Looks pretty fancy schmancy. Now that that's done, I can finally get to doing the siding here in this part. That'll be nice. And then this space will actually be 100% done, finally.